This is episode 68 of the Wilderness Locals podcast. On this episode, myself and Wacedog recap our British Columbia mountain goat hunt. This podcast is brought to you by Kafaru International, the toughest hunting gear on the planet, bar none. Frontiersman gear, high quality, completely custom, handmade knives made in the heart of the Peace Country. And as always, we're brought to you by Just Shooting Arrows, BC's premier archery shop. So, don't weaken.
Don't weaken.
Don't weaken. I'm going to start that thing with this, man. So one of the most memorable moments for the goat hunt for me was on the way out. We were hurting and on the way down, and we were trying to beat some weather out of there, and heavy packs in, heavy packs out, like real steep, gnarly pack out. And I'm like, I kind of yelled to you. I was like, hey, wait up. Hang on. I just got to get my poop in a group here. Give me a second. And I shit you not, you turned to me and you were like, Ty? I was like, yeah. You're like, when I was a young boy, my dad used to stand in a cattle chute, and he'd make us flank calves. And I was like, oh, fuck, where's he going with this? And you're like, whenever we would try to give up flanking those calves, my dad would just yell, don't weaken at me. And then I was like, man, that's gnarly. And then I'd look back up and you're walking away. I was like, oh, okay, don't weaken. We're getting off this mountain right now.
Yeah, pretty much, man. That's one of the things that really stuck with me over the years was my dad. That was one of his lines to me and my brother. He'd always yell, don't weaken. And so it's kind of stuck with me throughout life. Usually when you're down and out and you don't think you can take another step, I just hear him yelling at me, don't weaken. So get your ass going.
Yeah, that was a good moment. We got off that mountain pretty quick when that weather was coming in.
Yeah.
So what do you think? First BC hunt for you, but first like big BC mountain hunt.
Yeah, it was good. I was good. I didn't struggle too bad with it, but I live around 2,000 feet. You came from sea level, so I think it was hitting you a little harder than me, but I don't know. Were we at like 6,000 feet?
7,500 in there. We're up there.
I think when we're right up top drinking marmot shit, it was probably 7,000.
Yeah. That's too funny. That's like foreshadowing in the story, hey?
Yeah, it'll come.
Yeah, no, it was good. It took me a day or so to kind of get my lungs back after the pack in, eh? That was so kind of the whole plan with our hunt was I had a limited entry tag and you were going to hunt the archery kind of tag. And the plan was not to invest too much time into my limited entry zone because some of the intel we said that we had was basically like you guys could hunt this from the bottom and glass from down below and then kind of plan a route, get in and sort of get out type deal. And when we started going in, the kind of bridges that wrapped around the base of the mountain were all out. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like right out of the gate, it kind of derailed our plans. And we're looking at the bottom of this mountain. And I think like down from the bottom, I think we started seeing goats right away. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when we glassed across the canyon, when we were still just above tree line, I think we seen a herd of, what do you call them, a herd or a flock? I don't know. I don't know. A herd of goats, and there was probably 30 or 40 in that one. It was a big band, big group.
Mm. Yeah, but I mean, before we even left the truck, we were kind of like, okay, well, we got to make a decision here. Are we going to try to get this limited entry tag done, or are we going to go across to the other side? And I think we were like, well, we're already at the base of this one, and we sort of have an idea how to get up and where we're going. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be a good population of goats here, so let's go. And we sort of looked at some topo maps and planned a route and sort of stumbled into an outfitter trail.
Yeah, that worked out good. how we hit that. Like we just kind of angled off and then we dropped into that creek and started seeing markers on trees. And I was like, man, we lucked out big time. We didn't have to stumble through deadfall going up through that tree line. So it worked good.
I don't know if there was another spot up that mountain that you actually could have hiked up though. Like once we were up there, I was like, I don't think there's a spot you could get down.
Yeah, that was kind of just like that finger going up, eh? Like you had to, you were either on it or you weren't, you know?
Yeah.
Or you like cliffed out on the left side, or I mean, I think eventually you would have probably cliffed out on the right too.
It was like sheer on that one side for like a kilometer. That was wild.
Yeah, Mount Kilimanjaro. Is that
No, like it would be to the north of that. There's like that one. It looks like like from a distance, it looked like a pyramid. You know, it's just like solid rock straight down, and that was like kind of the ridge that we were kind of belly crawling along. You know, and it was to our left.
That one. Yeah, that was pretty wild.
Yeah, it was wild though, man. Because like afterwards, we were kind of peeking down into that, and you and I both started to realize like, oh, down there is where they meant we should be hunting, not up here, because like we started just picking off goats down below us. Like,
yeah, it was just even if we would have went back down to 4,000 feet and got to where that washout was, it was just too far of a hike to get around that mountain. Like, we'd have been another day and a half just getting around, you know.
Yeah, I think like if I draw that tag again, I think we would go in the same way. I think we would just have a different set of tricks in our bag, you know? Yeah. But the pack in was cool, man. And like, we did luck into that trail, but like I said, I mean, like if you were going to cut a trail onto that mountain, that's the only place I think you could have put it. I think that's why we hit it the way we did, you know?
Yeah, it worked out good. But do you think it was an old outfitter trail? Or somebody was just packing a saw up there.
I have some info on it now that I'll tell you offline because it'll give away where we were if I say it online. But I did get some info about why that trail's in there. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah,
it's good. It was only 2 spots on that trail that were kind of like they weren't bad, but you had to pay attention where you're putting your feet, you know? Yeah.
Steep enough where on the way down, I lowered my pack down with paracord.
Yeah.
I was saying, I can't remember who I was talking to. Maybe it was Jeff, because Jeff's my height, right? Jeff's like 5'9", and actually he might be shorter, but anyway, I'm 5'9". And I was saying to Jeff, I'm like, it's hard to have a hunting partner that has like 8-inch inseam advantage over you, because like you have long legs, man, and like when I'm going up isn't so bad, but when you're going down, you cover so much ground so much faster than I do over like the off camber stuff and that kind of thing.
I could pretty much run down the mountain.
Yeah, with the length of your legs, man. I'm like touching my pack on the ground on some of those, you know, like tipping it over.
I didn't mind it, you know, like when we went on that, I don't know if that would be the south end of that, where I was crawling through the cliffs there. You know, I thought it would be a little bit more gnarly than that, but once you got up in them cliffs, it wasn't bad. I'd find flat spots and stuff, and then I kept scurrying up through, right?
Yeah.
And then I got talking the day we split up. Yeah, and then you went around the base of that mountain, and I went up top. I'm like, oh man, it's nice up here. So I took my boots off for a minute, and then I woke up like 2 hours later. I'm like, oh shit.
Where's Ty?
I'm sleeping on top of the mountain with my boots off.
Freaking marmot pooping in your mouth. Man, it was funny because I was hitting you on the interview. I'm like, dude, I got a goat we could kill. I'm like messaging you. I'm like, where is Wacey? I like went back to where your bag was. I'm like, yeah, I found his bag. Like, where is Wacey? And then you came around the corner. You're like, yo, I fell asleep, man.
I have a tendency to. I just got back from a moose hunt with my buddy Mitch. Yeah. He's got he posted on his story. He's got like 5 pictures of me sleeping during the day. I'm like, what the fuck? I got a problem with napping, man. It's crazy.
If I'm in the tent, I'm asleep. But if I'm out, I don't sleep. I can't nap. But if it's bedtime, it's like can hit a switch, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, we got up there and then we're kind of like so this the whole thing kind of threw us for a loop out of the gate, because like we didn't really have a spot picked out for camp or anything like that, because we weren't planning on being on this side of the mountain at that elevation, right? And yeah, I think we set up camp in a pretty good spot.
If I had to do it again, I would camp another 500 feet up.
Yeah. So every morning you didn't have that grind up the mountain.
Yeah, that was like, it was a good spot where we were, but if I did it again, I wouldn't camp there. I'd be up in that base of that bowl. Yeah, for sure. 100%. Or like even up on the rock ledges on like kind of to the, I guess it would be west of where we were, like down, like with some cover from the wind in there, kind of where we first saw those wolves up there. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we get up top, get into camp, get camp set up the TP, get everything dialed. And I think we were just pulling our meat into a tree and some wolves start cracking off, and you're like, "Oh, that's not good." And I was like, "Oh, they don't sound very close." And you're like, "No, dude, those are close." And I was
well, I heard him, like, I heard a bunch pop off, but there was a male and he was real raspy. I'm like, man, that fucker's like within 100 yards of us. And I started hanging dry bags of food in the spruce tree, and just me making noise. He come boiling out of the cliffs towards me to see what it was, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember. I was like, you were looking at the tree or whatever that you're pulling stuff in. I was like, "Hey, wait!" And you like look over your shoulder. You're like, "Dude, kill it!" And I was like, "Oh, right, boom!" You know. I didn't. I didn't realize that you could like smoke a wolf center mass and have them peel off like that, though. Like. I didn't realize that was a thing. Like, I don't think many BC boys, from what I'm hearing, get cracks at wolves the way we did. And I didn't think it was like shooting, you know, a deer or an elk where they'll run with a hole in them.
Yeah, they're pretty tough critters, eh? Like, they'll take some lead. I shot one last winter with a 270 and freaking piped him, and he went probably 150 yards. So
that's wild. Yeah, it's wild. So that was like in the first, I don't know, hour of having camp set up, right? They were like, we were just, they're just on top of us right out of the gate.
And it wasn't only that pack of wolves that was in the basin that we were. It was the wolves in the basin where we came from. It was the wolves that were like, they were just on 360 degrees of that mountain, man. It was the wildest shit I've ever seen. Like, I'm used to, like, you know, we get into a pack of wolves, and in my country, like, a pack of wolves runs a pretty big stretch of territory. There, it seemed like there was a pack every half mile, man. It's like insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't have any real experience with wolves. Like, I have wolves in a couple spots that I hunt, but I've never even seen them, man.
Yeah,
that was like that was insane. Like for literally from an hour getting into the Alpine, we were like shooting at these things, and like you'd hear them crack off all the time.
But they were definitely running that basin, like that was their basin, right? Like they weren't going to leave that for nothing. So.
Yeah, and so I think after I took a poke at that first wolf, we were like, okay, we got some light left. Let's try to get up high and glass into this bowl, because we kind of had we had some good intel on where the goats would be in on that mountain, and we started kind of glassing, and like right away you like, I can't remember if you picked up goats first or if you picked up those wolves in the bottom.
Well, I could hear them, eh? Like I could hear. It was them pups and that bitch that was in there, and they were barking and howling. I could hear them. And so I spotted that one goat up high on that like 2,000 foot ridge. And then I just turned my glass down, and it was crazy to see, man. Like the mountain goats, I spotted two at that time. One was laying bedded probably 600 yards above the wolves. And then wolves are just howling. That goat's just laying up there content as could be. He just like, he couldn't care less. And like the way that them goats were kind of just hanging out and feeding and didn't care about them wolves. I was just like, geez, you wouldn't think that them goats would be so comfortable with them wolves around, you know? But
Yeah, I think I really think those goats were playing that like live in the escape terrain or just on the edge of the escape terrain, or like or I get eaten by a wolf type of game, you know, like it can get like in the following days. I think it came pretty clear to us, like, hey, the only way we're catching a good opportunity at a goat is if we catch it slipping. And then even when we catch it slipping, it's going to be on top of the cliffs. Like it's not going to be out feeding.
They weren't really leaving that escape train because of the wolves. And otherwise, I do think them goats would have been in that basin a little bit more. But that first night, I remember glassing up them wolves and they were playing with a goat head. I'm like, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, I know. You said that, and then like I got my spotter. I'm like, that's unreal. Like, can't believe that. And yeah, we put what we thought was a good billy from quite a ways off to bed that night. Basically, got back to camp and proceeded to fall asleep to hearing wolves howl all around us for the rest of the night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Actually, that night, or it was that night or the next.
I think it was the second night because it was after we had seen them in the main basin when we realized where they were denned.
But at that one night, you were sleeping, and I could hear one outside. He was sniffing around, and I didn't want to wake you up. I was like, oh, he'll go away. But like he was just outside the tent.
Yeah. I started shooting, blasting holes in your teepee.
I just went back to sleep. Fuck him. He can eat me if he wants.
Yeah, that's another thing, man. There's part of the story where I was a little nervous and you were just like, man, just bear spray that thing. I'm like, I'm not going to bear spray a bunch of wolves. You're like, man, just spray them with the bear spray. You like got your trekking poles ready. I'm like, why didn't this guy bring a gun, man? This guy didn't bring a gun on a goat hunt in grizzly bear country. Man, we're going to have to fist fight wolves. He didn't have a gun. This is stupid. Going home.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just so comfortable around wolves and bears and shit. I mean, hindsight, I probably should have brought some iron, but whatever. I don't know. Like you had a gun. I'm like, oh, we only need one gun, right? Whatever. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Yeah. Wolves don't bother me much. Like I said to you when I had my spotter up and we were glassing from the bottom and we were looking at that one billy. And I told you, I'm like, the wolves, like they see us moving up here. They're going to come because they're killing everything in this basin right now. And they're going to come check us until they catch our wind. Mm-hmm. So they come to what? How close that time? 100 yards,
yeah.
maybe?
Yeah, if that.
So it was like either, and kind of why I said spray them, because I knew if we started blasting around in that basin with that cannon, you got, them goats probably wouldn't tolerate that too much, which was true because the next day when you shot at that one at 600, it kind of cleared that basin or that where up top where them goats were. They kind of moved off into the cliffs the next day, right? So
yeah, we were able to relocate them. They didn't move far, but they just got off the faces.
Yeah, they definitely tolerated the wolves howling more than they did the gunshots. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. But that's why I was like, oh, if they come, like they're just going to come close wind us and they'll fuck off. But if they come real close, just spray one or shoot it or fucking hit it with a stick. I don't know.
Yeah, no, okay. I should give the listeners following along some context. You know, when somebody says like, yeah, spray that wolf with bear spray or hit it with your trekking poles, you think like, yeah, okay, maybe like one small little wolf by itself. You'll spray it, he'll run off. One wolf trekking pole. No, man, there was like 13 wolves in this basin that were just like cracking off, locating each other, peeling around, like throwing around wolf heads, playing, carrying around bones and stuff, man. It was not one wolf. It was a whole pile of these things. Wacey's like, yeah, hit it with a stick. I'm like, what are you talking about? Hit it with a stick.
Oh, man. Yeah, and I track lots of wolves, so I'm kind of used to getting up close to them, but the one sight I'll never forget on this trip, man, was when that wolf, the first night he come boiling out of them cliffs, like, and they were cliffs, like cliffs. He's like jumping through the cliffs, coming towards us, like on the dead run, like running at me. And I'm like, God, I just find it hard to believe that the wolves can make a living up in them cliffs, but they seemed right at home, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. It was pretty cool. I mean, like, all of the people that I've talked to about it now that are, hardcore goat hunters or sheep hunters or whatever, they're like, man, that is worth the trip right there. Seeing that, because a lot of people will go, their whole hunting career without ever experiencing anything like that. And I mean, it's cool, man. I think we'll remember that forever, right? I mean, hopefully next time we're in goat country, we don't see it again, and this isn't going to be something that's trending, because it made the goat hunting challenging for sure.
Yeah, it just altered how them goats were reacting to, or how they were living,
Yeah, like everybody that I've shown those photos to, like about the terrain we were in and where we were finding them, they're like, oh no, those goats should be, here feeding, and you should be finding them in here and like in these slides and stuff. And it's like, I'd show them on the photos, like, now this is where we're finding them. Like they're in the cliffs, like they're in the National Geographic, sizzle reel. They're not out feeding.
You know what else I thought was crazy? When we were like 7,000 feet, you remember them two like 747s that flew over?
Yeah, that was cool.
Didn't they seem like they were fucking close?
Yeah.
or is that just me? Like how high does a plane like that fly?
I don't know. Want me to check it out?
It's got to be like, doesn't a plane fly like 15,000 feet or something?
I thought 10,000 feet. Hang on, I can check quickly.
I was just like, man, I can almost.
No, I'm way wrong. 30,000 to 42,000 feet.
How come I could look like I could give that pilot a wave when he went by?
What's up, man?
It seemed close.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it was cool, man. It was a really good experience. And I mean, so that day that we got into the basin and we had the wolves running back and forth on us kind of all day, every time they'd catch movement, they'd sort of come check us out, right? So I finally just said to Wacey, I'm like, let's get up high and get out of the bottom of this basin. Like I don't want to be thinking about these wolves anymore, And I think we got up high on that kind of like the ridge top there, and then we basically just belly crawled to, I don't know, what did we get to, 500 yards on that one billy?
500, yeah.
And it was just like,
Billy too.
Yeah, he was a real nice billy, and it was just like, we talked about it, and like I had dope for my gun that far, but I had never shot the gun that far, and I didn't think I could make the shot, so we kind of we're like, well, we could try to make a play and drop down this mountain and see if we can get there without them winding us, and try to get to a couple 100 yards or whatever. And that's eventually what we did, and I think we probably got pretty close, but by the time we got to a spot that we could shoot from, he was
Did you notice where them goats were? Like, there was a method to their madness on that, because that whole area, that grass area, was just cliff, right? Like 1,000-foot cliff, like escape terrain all around it. But that one little grassy island that went out to it, and that's the way the wind went. So they felt safe coming out and feeding on that. And because anything that can go across there to get to them, they would wind them, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, something's got to go up the cliffs to get them,
It was wild about that too. When we got to the spot where we could see back in there, that young billy was still like up high, right where we could see him. And like, we knew that the other one just took a couple steps down from where they were right when we got there, and that young billy was just like standing there like, yeah, we're going down here.
So goats are really like sensitive to gunshots. Like, I didn't expect them. Like, when you shot at that wolf, remember across the basin, all the nannies and kids just up and peeled out. Like, there was 30 nannies and kids, and they were bedded within like 300-400 yards of them wolves, man, just in the trees. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, they're okay being around these wolves, but they don't like a gunshot, I guess. Yeah, it was interesting, man. It was really a fun spot too. I mean, how many goats did we see in a handful of days there? I don't know, probably 50, 60 goats. Yeah, at least counting them ones we seen on the first day hiking in across that canyon.
Oh, I wasn't even counting them, I guess. Yeah,
if you count those, but
yeah, no, it was cool, man. And like, there wasn't any lack of opportunity. I mean, I think if somebody was willing to take a little more risk or shoot outside their comfort zone, which is not something I would probably recommend. I think we probably would have killed a goat, but I just wasn't willing to shoot outside my skill level on that trip, right? I didn't need to kill a goat that bad, and the goats that were inside my effective range were all not goats I would want to kill, like either just immature billies or nannies, right?
Yeah. I was like that one nanny kid I found on that south end there that day.
That was an awesome spot. We were like, there has to be a billy in here. Like, this is perfect.
Like we crawled up to like 250 on that nanny or something, 150 or.
Oh yeah, 100 maybe.
I was like, just too bad there wasn't a billy in here, because that would be a nice like area to get him. Even if he rolled down, it was just going into the bottom. So
yeah. Good. Yeah, that was cool. That was a really cool spot. And like, I just couldn't believe, like, we were consistently just on top of these wolves. Like every finger we'd go down, there would be more wolves, or there'd be wolves running out or checking you out or like running right up on you. Like it was almost to the point where like when we were sitting like down in these bottoms and stuff, you'd be like kind of, I don't know, looking over your shoulders and stuff like that. It's because they were super curious.
Yeah, I should have got a stick or something, I guess, maybe. Could have whacked a few.
Too funny. Oh, man. I thought maybe he's going to try to arrow one. Maybe not. You actually need a non-resident tag for
I couldn't have killed one anyway. I didn't have a tag, so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the law. I don't know if anybody would have probably cared.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know anybody would ever probably go up there and find out, but that's not the point, right?
Yeah.
No grizz sign though up high, which was cool, and that's probably why the wolves were up there. You know.
Yeah, I only seen one old pile of grizz shit where we camped. Weirdly enough, but
right beside the tent. Good.
I don't know. Yeah, that was good. There wasn't much bear sign. I thought when we were walking in, because you could pretty much stick your hand out and scoop up blueberries in each hand. I was like, "Ooh, fuck."
Yeah. I know that was a little stressful going in. It's like, I mean, you could see over those blueberries. Those blueberries were head height when I was walking in. I'm like, well, I'm dead.
Oh yeah, fuck them. Whatever. They're only gonna maul you for a bit before you die. So you'll be all right?
Yeah, it's cool. It's good. At least you'll be like taste like blueberries, I guess. Blueberry fertilizer. Yeah. No, that was cool. Yeah, that was fun. And then that was sort of the big effort of that day, was getting over to those ones and getting a 500 and deciding not to shoot and trying to kind of make a play. We kind of knew when we were making that play, we're like, might be a futile attempt here to get there. And we kind of had basically a half day or so to get back to camp after that, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Is that the day that we hit the questionable water source?
I don't remember what day that was, but I know we were like 7,000 feet and water was like back down at what, like 6,000 probably?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I don't want to go down. I don't want to go down. You're like, well, we could probably find some water like halfway, like 6,500. And we did. Mm-hmm. But it was pretty stagnant.
Yeah, I got a video of it.
Ty posted a video of the water we were pumping, but we both pumped water. And then like you steri penned and I did nothing. I just drank it. I was hurting for water. And
is that what happened? I thought you pumped it through your Catadine.
I did pump it, yeah.
Okay.
But the water was just so bad though. I just think that the filter probably could only do so much, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, that water was pretty much the only water on the trip that tasted funky, because I pump and run a steri pen always. Like even in elk country, I do both. Like
I got a rock solid gut. Usually, like I've drank some questionable water in my hunting career, but I should have fucking clued in, because I looked over and there was a fucking marmot trail or rock chuck or whatever you call them fucking things.
Yeah, marmot,
going down to that water. I'm like, oh, great. I'm sharing water with this thing. And I even carried chlorine tabs. I should have just dropped a couple in, but I didn't. I'm like, oh, just down the hatch, right? So whatever, we carry on, and that night decide to hike out to the truck.
Oh, it wasn't that night.
It was the next, or whenever it was.
I think it was a few days later that stuff started to kind of.
Well, I didn't feel anything, and then we got to the truck, and I said to Ty, I'm like, man, I'm feeling weird, right? I'm like, I think I just got to eat something, right? So we start driving, and we get Ty. I'm like out of it. So I was talking to the doctor that gave me pills for this Giardia. And he said like hallucination is kind of one of the things that goes along with this parasite in your stomach. And I think we grabbed something to eat, and I passed out, and I was just having some wild dreams and shit. And we rented a room, and I got in the shower, and I just stood in the shower, man, and I was just shaking.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to back up though, because kind of we drank funky water, and then a few days later we were like, as far as we had been away from camp. Right. And we were like, I was kind of just starting to like, really kind of like hit my stride. And like for the audience, Wacey can like way out hike me. Right. And like, if I'm putting a gap between me and Wacey when we're hiking, something's going on. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we were way in the back, and I had found this one billy, and I was like, hey, look, I think we can kill this billy if we go out on this finger. And then we're like hiking down to it. And I'm like, oh man, it's pretty far. Like, we're going to be a day down to go get it. We're going to be a day to get it back to camp. And the wolves are down in the bottom of this thing. Like, it's going to be a 2 or 3 day ordeal after we pull the trigger. Right. And I'm like talking to you, and I'm like, is he like bored? What's going on right now? You're like just being weird. Right. And I was like, I think I didn't know what was going on, and I'm like, okay, this is funky. Okay. I'm like, you know what? Let's not shoot this billy. Like, it's not worth the commitment. Cause like, I kind of thought, oh, maybe you're not feeling good. Right. And then we get back to camp, and I could tell you were like really like off, like you were just not acting normal. And then we got to the truck, and you were just wrecked. Right. Mm-hmm. Cause we were like, when we got back to the tent, you were kind of, I don't know, how would I put it? Like, you weren't gassed, but you were just like, I could tell you like weren't paying attention and stuff, Mm-hmm. You were just like like, it was weird. It's hard to explain, because you were like, I was like, is he super dehydrated? What's going on right now? Right. You hear all kinds of weird stories from the mountains, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then I was like, okay, well, if we pull the ripcord right now, we can get to the truck by dark. And if we get to the truck by dark, we're going to miss this weather, because we're supposed to have bad weather for, I think it was 4 days starting at, kind of sundown that night. Right. So we like pulled the ripcord, packed camp, headed down the mountain. Don't weaken. Right. Get to the truck, and Wacey's just like, dude, I need water. And I was like, I had a 5 gallon of water in the truck. Right.
Yeah. So one of the side effects of this, I come to find out, is severe dehydration, but you can't drink enough water to quench it. So when we got to the truck, I drank more water than I've ever drank in my life. And I'm like, man, I'm like fucking dying of thirst right now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, I remember it, because I like flipped that 5 gallon on the tailgate of the truck, and you're just like powering through like 1 liter Nalgene's like steady the whole time. I was like I packed all of our gear. You didn't even pack your stuff. You just dropped your bag and like got into the truck. I'm like, okay, he's messed up. Like, what's going on? Right. And we drove to town, and like, that's crazy. I had never seen that before. That Giardia is like, that's the real deal. Eh?
And I talked to, my dad, and I remember my grandpa talking about it, and they're like, oh, you don't want to get beaver fever. You don't want to get beaver fever. And I'm like, oh yeah, it can't be that bad. Right. Like, nobody ever made a big deal about it, but it's some serious shit, man. Yeah. Like, it fucked me up bad. I was fucked for almost 2 weeks, I was on heavy meds, just to get through that. The first 3 days on meds, and I thought I was going to fucking die, to be honest. Like, it was a new kind of pain that I haven't ever experienced. But anyway, when we got to that hotel, I stood in the shower for 30 minutes, just shivering. I was just shivering, and I got in bed, and I was just like fucking writhing in pain. And you're like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, fuck, dude. What did I say to you? I'm like, if I stop breathing in the night, you got to fucking make sure I'm breathing in the middle of the night. Like, get up and make sure I'm breathing. And
I was like, dude, I just packed off a mountain. I'm tired.
That's how bad a shape I was in. Yeah. But I didn't know what was wrong at the time. And, but fast forward, I get to my truck in Prince George.
Yeah.
And peel out. And, I'm driving home. And I'm like fucking hallucinating and shit, right? Like,
oh no!
I don't know if I ever told you this, but I got like going through Edson and a road that I took home all the time. I've taken this road home for 20 years.
Yeah,
and I missed the road, and I didn't know where the fuck I was. I actually phoned my wife. I'm like, I'm fucking lost. Like, I don't know where I'm at right now. That's how bad a shape I was in, man.
Oh wow!
So anyway, I got home and got in bed. When I got home around midnight and I woke up, and it was like somebody poured out a bucket of water where I was sleeping. That's how much like I was just sweating. Like, my body was just in bad shape. So I'm actually friends with a doctor who's a sheep hunter.
Oh, nice.
So I phoned him, and I'm like, first thing in the morning, and I woke up, I'm like, Doc, I'm in bad shape. And he's like, where have you been? I said, I was on a goat hunt. He's like, right away, he's like, you drink water? I said, yeah. He's like, how was the water? I'm like, for the most part, it was good. There was one spot we drank was questionable. I'm like, I pumped it though. He's like, that don't matter. And so I went through the symptoms. He's like, oh fuck. He's like, you got Giardia bad. I'm like, okay. And he's like, we got to get you started on meds right away. Cause it's already been what?
like 4 or 5 days at this point, right?
And so I went to town. My wife went to town, got me pills, and it was 3 days of pills before I could eat anything.
Oof.
And then I started eating like crackers and drinking and stuff. But I mean, I don't know if anybody listening to this has ever had that. Maybe it affects people differently, but it fucked me up pretty bad anyway.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I felt bad too, because I was like, I'm like, man, I drink all the same water.
Yeah. So here's the difference, right? We both pumped that water. I had a Catadine filter, the filter's down to like 0.2 nanograms or whatever. Mm-hmm. You were running an MSR filter. And the only difference that we did on that water was you SteriPen and I didn't. Mm-hmm. That was it. So if anybody tells you SteriPen don't work, they work.
Yeah. I mean, I always run that thing. It's a little bit of extra weight with a SteriPen Classic or whatever, but like I'm like pudding soft when it comes to like gut health, like I'm constantly having upset guts.
So from what I understand with them SteriPens is it doesn't kill the bacteria. I think it just kills it in a way that it doesn't reproduce, right? Mm. Because when I drank that water, it was just a bacteria orgy in my stomach, right? Like just everybody was just having a good old time down there.
Welcome to Wacedogs.
Yeah, so I think a SteriPen stopped the orgy,
Yeah, well, if you don't want to have an orgy, get a SteriPen. There you go. Oh man, well, I'm glad you're okay now. Did you lose a bunch of weight?
I think I dropped about 12 pounds on that ordeal.
Oof. On top of the weight you lost on the hunt, or is that total?
No, that was just probably from Giardia.
Nice. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I don't know what else can we talk about from the hunt? I mean, basically the rest of the hunt was just glassing goats and deciding whether or not we wanted to kill them. Excuse me. There was no shortage of goats at all. No shortage of opportunity. It was just a matter of getting a goat in a place that we could kill them confidently, right? Kill them and recover them, I guess.
Yeah, and to be honest, like in all honesty, the wolves really fucked shit up on that hunt. Like you have goats living on the edge of 2,000-foot cliffs, like you shoot that goat, it's going to be mangled if you can get to it. But a lot of the case, we couldn't even get to it. Right. So, who knows? It was a crapshoot, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The best chance on a billy that we were really interested in, like a good, nice, mature billy, was that 500-yard poke. Actually, I think it might have been the same billy when we would have been shooting across off that little finger, but the recovery would have been a nightmare.
Well, and even in the video, it looks like a grassy field. That spot where they're feeding had to have been what, 15, 20 degrees?
It was steep.
So even if you shot him there, man, he would probably tumbled off the cliff. I get it. That's part of goat hunting, but I don't know. Depends if you can get to him or not.
I mean, for me, it's not so much about, don't get me wrong. I would have loved to have killed a goat on that trip. That would have been excellent. But with that being our first goat trip, I was unwilling to kill a nanny. First of all, was not going to happen. Right. And then I just, I want the first goat that I take to be a certain goat, a certain level of goat. You know what I mean? I want a good mature billy. I want a good representation of the species. I don't want a young goat that I took because I could get to him,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I'd like to go again. I think, to be totally honest, I'd like to go in a rifle zone and then maybe kill one like that and then try the bow again. I think the bow thing for me, I think it's doable, but I think you need the right terrain. To be honest, 2,000-foot cliffs isn't the right terrain for stick bows. I need a little more. It's got to be a little more casual terrain, right? Something I can get on the edge of and shoot down 30 yards,
Yeah, well, you watch the videos and the photos of the terrain that Snyder killed his goat in Colorado, that nanny, and it does not look like the country we were in, Yeah,
we were on Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, looking straight down at stuff, But no, I think there's places in BC that hold goats that is a little more gentle, but definitely not the country we were in. I think I don't know how you would kill a goat with a bow in the zone that we were in.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be doable in the case that the wolves weren't there and them goats would come into that basin just a little bit more where there's a little bit of cover and you can get close to them, right? But
there was sign in there too. There was lots of goat sign out in the open. It's just they hadn't been there in a real long time, probably since those wolves moved in the spring, right?
I just have a hard time believing that a pack of 13 wolves, you're talking about a machine, a 13 wolf pack, a machine that could probably could eat a moose every 5 days.
Yeah.
How can they make a living up there? They can't tell me they're killing that many goats to survive,
and marmots, what else is up there? Nothing.
I found it very hard to believe that they set up a den there and are making a living with a pack of 13. That's mind boggling to me. Cause I've seen big packs and they're just chainsaws, man. They're killing moose, deer, elk, once a week. I just can't. I don't know. I had a hard time believing that they could survive up there, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, it was a pretty good trip. I'd like to go again. And, I didn't think it was too bad. I had trained quite a bit that summer, though. Mm-hmm. I was pretty prepared to hike.
Yeah, I've come off a few hunts now where for days later you're hurting, and I was ready to go the day after we got back. I felt fine. So
I was good. I was 62 pounds going in, and so I think it was a little bit of an eye opener. I'm comfy at 60 pounds, and I'm a big dude, right? But if I will do it again, I'm going to try and hover 50 pounds with camp and probably 6 to 8 days of food. I think I can do it with 50 pounds. It's just I'm going to have to shuffle some gear and look at some different things. But I just think that for the amount of hiking we were doing, 65 pounds is too much.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was a slog to get in. It was a full day in, right? which we were not expecting. We thought the pack in would be much less, the route I had planned. Right. Yeah, I'd actually never weighed my pack kind of on purpose. I didn't want to think about it if it was heavy, you know.
I wanted to wait just for the simple fact, because I knew, like, if I didn't like it, then I knew where I needed to be, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I weighed it. But generally, I don't weigh packs either, you know. So
I was pretty Spartan. Like, if it wasn't in my bag, it was just not something I needed, you know.
That's like a stereo pen.
Yeah, well, I needed that. Man.
You handed me. You're like, you went to hand me your stereo pen. I'm like, oh, I'm good, man.
I do remember that. That was the first time we got water.
Mm-hmm. I'm like,
I don't think I offered it to you again after that.
Yeah, but you were also like, oh, I think I'm getting a little bit of strep throat or something.
Well, I was sick. So here's my big takeaway from that hunt, right? And it was like our first goat hunt, right? And the week before that, not the week before, 2 weeks before that, my wife was laid up in the hospital with some pregnancy stuff, right? And so my mind was kind of messed up going into it. But, you know, she had been home for a few days and she's like, I'm fine. Just go. Your folks are here. You know, it's cool. Right. And so my mind was sort of like, and we kind of talked about it a whole bunch. And I figured, you know, like, Wacey's got this time off work. We already got everything set up. Like, let's do it. Right. If something's bad, I can figure out how to get home fast. Right. I'd hop in a plane if I have to, you know? And, so I went, and that was like my first thing, right? My second thing is I went into that hunt like sick, like real sick, because I had spent a whole week the previous week at the hospital, and I picked up some kind of like ear infection head cold thing. And so like this whole trip I was taking like Tylenol Complete the entire trip. So I don't know. That was like my one big takeaway is like, man, if the stuff isn't just buttoned down rock solid at home, you're not going to have your head in the game completely, you know?
Yeah, got to have your head screwed on right, or you're already fucking talked off the mountain before you even go, right? But
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's something that was kind of out of my control, but you know, I definitely needed to figure that out a bit more before this trip, because I definitely was missing my family and stuff, you know, a handful of days into the trip, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know. Like, one thing too, I kind of noticed that, you know, you were kind of complaining about your ankles. You were running handwag Yukons. Yep.
No, Alaskans, a little softer up there.
They're a 3 stiffness, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was running the handwag. The fuck are they called? I can't remember now. But
Ferrata.
Ferratas?
Ferrata?
Oh no, sorry. I was running the handwag Series 2, GTX Gore-Tex. And they're a 5 stiffness. They're a mountaineering boot, man. And that's the only way to go up in that shit. I'll tell you right now. Like, cause your ankles were even a little bit bruised. Mm-hmm. I was side hilling with that stiff shank in that boot. That's the ticket for that kind of stuff, I found anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Those boots that I'm running are, I mean, I'm on the 3rd or 4th season out of those boots. Like, I think I'm probably actually due for a resole on those, but I think I'm just going to go to a stiffer boot. So that'll be good.
Yeah. Do you think, and one thing that crossed my mind, I think everybody's seen the video, like that one wolf at 600, you shot low.
Yeah.
Do you think that you sighted in at sea level and you were shooting at 7,000 feet? Do you think that affected quite a bit on your trajectory? I do think. So I don't know how you mitigate that, you know, like you'd have to do the math on it, you know, where you're going to be hunting for your sight in, right? I don't know how to.
Yeah, you can do it on a ballistic calculator, and that's kind of all stuff I've been working on since that hunt. I don't know, people following along with Instagram and stuff like that can see that I've dove into the precision rifle stuff a little bit more. And coming off that hunt, I realized a big weak point in my game is the far away shots. There's a ton of opportunity where guys like my buddy Jeff and my buddy Justin and Cole and Matt and Chad too, guys that are real rifle guys would have no problem running that elevation turret on the rifle and making a real good ethical solid shot and tipping something over because they know what the rifle does, right?
You know what Cole Hank said to me? He's like, every good bow hunter needs a rifle. Yes, that motherfucker, you know, like I'd never seen a guy talk so much fucking shit like Cole Hank. And at first I was like, when I messaged Justin, I'm like, I don't know if this fucking motherfucker wants to fight me or what, but he's like messaging me like fucking like we're playing hockey together, and he's just chirping me on the ice, like he's just messaging me shit. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? And then Justin's like, oh no, he's like, dude, he's got a heart of gold. He's the nicest guy. He's like, he just likes to shit talk. I'm like, oh, so after I figured out that I'm like, oh, okay, he's just busting my balls, but. Yeah, I'm like, this guy's the king of fucking shit talk right here. He's a real good dude, man. He calls me all the time just to make sure everything's kosher at home and stuff with the crap I got going on. But I like all those guys. Like Justin's solid dude. Cole's good. And yeah. Jeff is very good. He's well spoken. Yeah, well, I mean, he's doing a podcast for us now. Tent Talk, offending everyone weekly. Do you think Tent Talk has a little sexual innuendo in it or what? I think he should have called it Pillow Talk. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a bit of something. Actually, I sent Ronnie the logo and he goes, ooh, I don't know about that, man. I haven't listened to this first one yet. I haven't had time, but it's good. Yeah. Who does he talk to on that? I'm on it, but they just wanted me to kind of help out with it because it was their first one. You know, they're nervous. It was Jeff, him and Justin. Oh, Justin, yeah. Jeff and Justin. Yeah, they're talking mule deer. They're talking about management and comparing it to Alberta and other things. And oh yeah, they'll get people right bent out of shape. You know, I just, our seasons are so liberal here in BC. They could use some tightening up a bit. You know, we don't need 4 weeks of any buck. I don't think. We need a week, I had any buck. You know, I said on a podcast one time, I was saying like, you know, Alberta's pretty good for the mule deer, you know, but they aren't, right. Like they're doing this winter. Call. They're going to do a big call because we do have a CWD problem, I guess, down in southern Alberta. But, you know, I caught some flack from some guys saying that, oh, Alberta's a long ways away from fucking being perfect. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. But they also don't have a fucking any weapon, any fucking buck season. That how long does it go? Like you can shoot any buck. 4 weeks. It's all of October. October 1st to October 31st is any buck in like pretty well 90% of the province. I think there's only 1 or 2 zones that stays 4 point. But our mule deer season, you ready for your mind to be blown? September 1st to December 20th. Rifle? All rifle? The only part of that is archery season is September 1st to September 9th. And then some zones have a December season. Like the last week of December is archery. But the rest of it is rifle. See, like in Alberta, like we can shoot pretty much any buck or a doe with a bow, like bow season. Which is fine because, you know, there's not near, but then it goes to draw for rifle. Like 90 whatever percent of Alberta is draw for rifle. And I mean, we got some good deer that come out of this province, and it just goes to show that like just closing up some rifle, you can produce some good bucks. So like for guys that were like, oh, Wace, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about with mule deer. You're like, well, you're talking like BC to Alberta. Like you guys are basically slaughtering them, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's much opportunity for a buck to live a long time unless it's living up in the high country and dropping down after the season ends. I think that's the only way they're making a living for a long time, you know?
But with that being said, there's got to be some good muleys come out of Alberta.
Out of BC, man?
Or out of BC, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, every year good deer come out of BC. I mean, there is good deer in BC. It's just a matter of where they are. You know, it's I don't know. I think there's a way to appease both sides. Like I think we need an easy season, like an easier season that's accessible to people, like an any buck season in October, but not for 31 days, maybe for a week, and keep it away from the rut. Cause like, I mean, the tail end of October stuff starts to heat up in BC, you know, and it's still any buck. You get like spike bucks running around with their nose on the ground the last few days of October.
And guys just love shooting them, eh?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, meat buck. They say meat buck.
I guess there's a lot of that here probably too. I don't know for sure, but I know like the guys I know and the guys I run with, like they hunt for mature deer. Like that's all there is to it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's harder.
Yeah. Well, you want to try and like take the most mature specimen you can find.
Well, I mean, look what we do in Southern Alberta with the bows. It's like, I mean, that's damn near impossible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know if it gets harder for deer, does it?
Yeah. Like, what do you mean? Like for
just trying to get close to those big old mule deer. Like they're switched on. Those are cagey ass deer.
Oh yeah. Yeah. They know what they're doing.
Tough. So do you have any, back onto our goat hunt here before we tuck ourselves into bed? You have any gear failures on the trip?
Yeah. Cot. I'm a kind of a cot guy, but I had that.
Are you saying cock or cot?
Cot. C-O-T. I had my cock failure.
Okay. What?
No, I don't run a pad. I used to run pads. Fucking hate pads. So I had that lightweight. It's a Therm-A-Rest Backpacking Cot. I think it's under 2 pounds. Pretty nice cot, but it ripped on me. So I was pretty much sleeping on the fucking ground anyway. So I think I'm gonna go back to pads now again.
It looked very uncomfortable.
I liked your pad. What was that?
Yeah. Big Agnes.
Big Agnes. Yeah.
It's a phenomenal pad.
Yeah, that was the only failure I had, but whatever. I don't mind sleeping on the ground. Don't bother me much.
Did I have anything fail? I don't think so, really.
Hey, you talk to a couple guys that went up there after us? No,
I never talked to them. I didn't talk to them. Oh. You know why I didn't talk to them?
What?
I can't remember for the life of me who it was.
Yeah.
They messaged you too, right?
I think so. He's like, where were you guys at? He's like, where did you guys go in at? And I'm like, bro. That's when I was like fighting Giardi at the peak of it. I'm like, bro, I don't even know where the fuck I'm at right now. Like, I'm laying on the bathroom floor crying. I don't know where the fucking mountain is at.
It was rough, eh?
Oh yeah. You don't want it.
I know. I was trying to get a hold of you when you were real sick and you're just like, bro, I can't talk on the phone. And my wife's like, is Wacey mad at you? Did you guys not have a good time? What happened? I was like, no, he's not mad. He's just dying. He's not mad at me.
Dude, I was 15 days of fighting that. Like, bad. Yeah. Maybe like anybody listen to this, maybe hit me up. Like, I don't know if some guys have gotten it and maybe it wasn't as bad for some people, but I don't know. It rocked my world.
Go on Facebook and join Wacey's Giardia Survivor Support Group and send photos of your poop. Yeah. Oh, dude. No, it was good. Any big takeaways for you? I think you already said one of your big takeaways was the amount of weight you'd pack in.
Yeah.
You're an ultralight guy now.
No, I don't want to be an ultralight guy. I just want to be, there's gotta be a spot where it's a happy medium. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
maybe some guys pack 70 pounds in, I don't know, but you start talking like that, you know, and you got to pack out a freaking mountain goat, like you're coming out of there with a 150 pound pack. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not realistic, right? Like, so
Well,
I don't know.
It may be down.
But to me, it's just like, I mean, I think a guy's got to hover around 50 pounds, unless you're Cole Hank. You pack like a 95 mil spotter.
Yeah, I don't know if we needed 2 spotters.
I liked it though. I liked having my own, and you have your own.
It was good when we were splitting up there a bit, but I think if next year, I don't know, maybe we'll bring 1 spotter next year, but we might go with the Schultz boys next year. Who knows? One
thing I would change too, like there's a couple things I'm going to change. So I'm going to drop some weight out of my bag. I'm going to switch to a good pad that if I can find a good pad. And I'm going to switch tents. Like I think there is a purpose tent built for everything, but
yeah,
my teepee worked fine. And it's lightweight. It's just like a tarp, right? With a pole. It's super lightweight. But I would probably, I don't know, maybe a 1-man with a vestibule.
Yeah, I have a nice ultralight Big Agnes that was in the truck, and I wish we would have packed that up.
Like what was the weight on that? I wonder.
I think it's 2 pounds, 2-3 pounds.
Just because, like, I don't know, the floor, like, I kind of got, when rain was starting to move in, I was like, we might get a little wet. But, you know, me and Cole spent a week in my teepee elk hunting one time, and it's floorless, and it rained for like 3-4 days, and we never got wet once on the floor. So, yeah,
we were pretty exposed up there, though, to the weather. When if a weather system moved in there, we were going to be, I think we were going to be hurting pretty bad.
Like, so, hindsight, was it the right tent? Probably not. Was it a bad tent? And absolutely not. I would probably, I'd do it again. It's just, I think there is better tents for that purpose, Yeah,
I think I'll probably grab a Hilleberg or something like that for next year. Just have something that's bomb proof that I don't have to think about ever again.
Yeah. I don't know. It was all right though, for what it was.
Yeah. Like I said, I think my big takeaway was having your mental stuff buttoned up, like your family at home. You got to know everything's cool at home, right?
Yeah, I could tell it was bugging you too.
Just it's I still have stuff going on at home now. I mean, we canceled Moose Camp. We canceled. I think we're canceling our Alberta trip this year too, right? So, yeah. Well, got to take care of your family first, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you got to. But
I thought of another gear failure you had.
What?
InReach.
Would you class it as a failure? Like, it just was.
You almost threw it into a lake. So yes,
it would take so long to send a message. Like. It's crazy. I don't know. It was fucking 5 minutes to send a message. You were like having like full on text conversations with a Zolio with people. Like I couldn't even get one fucking sentence out, with that thing. Piece of shit.
Yeah, no, it was bad.
So I have an InReach Mini for sale if anybody's looking.
It works great.
Works great.
I will trade straight for a Zolio.
Yeah, I'm going to get a Zolio for next year, I think.
That's awesome.
I do like the fact with the InReach you can do a message without a phone, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can check in on the Zolio. There's a check-in button where you can just send a message that says, "Hey, I'm fine. Here's where I'm at."
Right.
Which I think is good. I mean, that Zolio, I ended up running it in my bino harness. I'm running that Sitka, what is it, mountain harness? I think John calls it. I don't know. Anyways, I'm running the Sitka harness, and it fits in the gear pocket on the left side, opposite of the rangefinder. It's deadly. It works inside of it too.
I was going to talk about Prince George for a second. So I get to Prince George 8 hours ahead of Tyler for some fucking reason. Oh, time change got me. I gained an hour, right? So So I'm like,
well, you gained an hour, and we realized like once you were there that you live like not far from Prince George, or you were working not far from Prince George, and I live on the other side of the universe.
Yeah. So I say to Tanner, I'm like, where you at? And I can't remember where the fuck Tanner was, but
from Frontiersman.
Yeah. So I just typed Subway. I was going to go get a sub while I was waiting for you and it took me downtown. I go down to this fucking Subway and there's like fucking junkies and shit everywhere. Like I didn't think Prince George was that big of a city. And, I go into Subway and there's this guy in Subway with his pedal bike. I'm like, so people don't even want to leave their fucking bikes outside to go get a sandwich. So I go on Subway, get a sandwich. I come back out to the truck and Tanner phones me. He's like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, oh, I just grabbed a sub downtown. He's like, oh, dude. He's like, you can't be downtown. He's like, you got to get the fuck out of there. And I'm like, oh, it can't be that bad. So I'm eating my sub and this guy walks up, picks a cigarette butt off the ground. He looks at it. He goes, oh, that's where you went. I've been looking for you. And then he looks at me and smiles. I'm like, I just started my truck and fucking reverse. I'm like, goodbye. And I asked Tanner, I'm like, what the fuck is going on in Prince George? Like there was people, I don't know. You guys obviously have a freaking drug problem. It's crazy. There's one guy standing in the corner, like just standing there pointing up at the sky. Like I stopped and looked up. Like, what the fuck is this guy looking at? It's a fucking, and it was a little bit of culture shock for me because I don't go to the cities much, and when I do, I just go in like run in the cabals, grab shit, and leave. So I go there, I'm like, holy fuck, man! Like this is some next level shit.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm scared of packs of wolves and Wacey's scared of cities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was crazy.
That's awesome. Oh man. So all in all, a good trip, I'd say.
Yeah, I would. Learned lots, and there's lots of things I'd do different next time. But
is one of the things a Steri pen?
I'm going to be buying, I'm going to be buying a Steri pen, but you know what the kick in the nuts of it all is? I pack chlorine tabs. Like I fucking pack them.
Iodine or chlorine?
Chlorine tabs.
Okay.
For sketchy water. That's why I pack them. And I'm like, oh, fuck it. I'll just drink this. Like, I don't know why I did that, but it costed me pretty bad on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
I stopped after and seen Tanner for a bit, and I was feeling okay then. But man, it started to hit me pretty good on the drive home.
Yeah, I'm glad when that last day we were up on the mountain there. I'm glad I kind of was paying attention enough to be like, something's going on here. Something's not right.
Yeah, because I wanted to stay, right? Like
I know, and I was just like, I had like this weird gut feeling, and I was like, hey, Wacey's acting weird. Like, what's going on? This isn't going good.
Yeah, so I have beaver fever meds now. If anybody,
keep them in your pack, or just maybe keep a Steri pen. That'll do it.
Yeah, just use a Steri pen or chlorine tab. So when I went on this moose trip here last week with my buddy Mitch, we went 4 or 5 days, and we were floating down a river, pretty big river and pretty clear water. And we stopped on a beach and we were boiling some water for lunch.
Yeah.
And I take my Nalgene bottle and I scoop water out of the river and I drop 2 chlorine tabs in it. And Mitch is like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, oh man, I'm not risking it ever again.
Oh man. That's funny.
I learned my lesson about water on that one, but I'm going to buy a Steri pen here.
Have you ever got sick from water before?
No, man. And I remember like being a kid with my dad out riding horses, and we would stop and drink out of like little creeks and stuff, like real kind of stagnant water. And it never bothered me. Like I've been doing it my whole life, but that marmot shit packs a punch,
Man, those marmots are cool. Hey, they just, when they start cracking off like that,
I'd like to shoot them, to be honest with you. I'd like to lay up in the cliffs with like a 22 250 and start snapping some necks,
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be cool. But
can you shoot those fucking things or what?
I don't know.
Somebody hit me up about the law of shooting marmots. Are they even called marmots? I don't even know. They just whistle when you're walking up to them. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're marmots, and then those little ones are called pikas, right? Picas pica.
Yeah, I don't know, but they're like when you're getting close to a goat and they start piping off. I was like, "Fuck you guys."
Yeah, they're like sounding off. They're cool.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and who did we leave my truck with? Chris Schultz?
Yeah. No, Daryl.
Daryl. Yeah. So shout out to the Schultz brothers there, helping us out a little bit.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Good guys, nice guys. And,
yeah. I just sent them a little thank you present the other day there.
Yeah. It's good.
Yep.
What else?
What else? You and I haven't really caught up since hunting. We've both been just swamped with family stuff.
Yeah, shot a bull out last evening, but other than that, it's been kind of quiet. Did some deer hunting and stuff, right? Just trying to hang around home.
How'd that bull go?
It was pretty. To be honest with you, it was pretty straightforward hunt. Like just out doing some hiking, right, and basically we just bumped into each other pretty much, Nice. He trotted out at 200 yards and I hit him with the long bow.
Nice.
I'm using, I shoot a 270, so yeah, I had some 130 grain GMXs loaded up. Using, what the hell? It was a Hodgson 41. I can't remember now what powder I put in them ones, but it rocked his world. He only took 2 steps and tipped over, so.
Didn't go 20. Nice.
Yeah, I was excited. From when that bull died, from when he died, like I killed him like 15 minutes before like last light or whatever. And by the time I had him in quarter bags and loaded up was an hour. Like I went to work on that motherfucker.
Got her done.
Yeah, I wasn't pissing around, so it went good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't happen like that all the time. And I was just like, man, this is so nice handling elk quarters. It's a fucking walk in the park. So I'm used to handling moose quarters, right? Like it takes 2 men and a small child to lift a fucking moose hind. So.
Yeah, no kidding. I've just been steady blacktailing because it's near home. So I'm on the blacktail game, been steady passing young deer, waiting for big boy to come in. I'll probably not do anything this weekend, but maybe next week get out there again, hopefully. Yeah,
blacktails, eh?
Yeah.
You guys like your blacktails, eh?
I think it's just me. I don't think there's that many people that love them. I talk about blacktails all the time because they're cool. They're hard to kill. I had this dude on yesterday. I don't know if you listened to that one yet on the podcast. Ryan Gaither. His name on Instagram, Steepin Solo. Just like total badass dude. Super backcountry blacktail killer. Packs in with pack goats and stuff like that.
Right.
But he's killed some crankers, big, huge cranker blacktail. Pretty wicked.
I can't wait to listen to Jeff's podcast. I'm going to do that tomorrow.
It's going to be good.
Tent Talk.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's good.
Is Tanner going to still do that one too?
Yeah. Yeah. Tanner's doing one when he has time. He's going to do a podcast on here called Cut the Shit. Get it? Because he makes knives and they're sharp. They cut stuff.
He's going to
be cutting the shit. I think he's going to do it as like kind of a live audience participation thing.
I think you said like, oh, Jeff's podcast is going to offend some people talking about mule deer. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be a lot of people that agree with him more than he's going to get shit.
I think so too.
Like, I think there's a lot of guys that are like on the same page, right?
Yeah. Well, I think in that podcast too, Justin and Jeff kind of preface it by saying like, hey, look, like if you're learning how to hunt or if you're doing this or doing that, like by all means, shoot a immature deer. But just they kind of basically say like where we're at in the current state of mule deer in BC, like it's hard to find deer. A lot of places that there used to be thousands of deer, you know what I mean? Like the herd is not in good shape from a non-scientific observation perspective here in BC. Like I started telling a story on the podcast and I kind of got sidetracked where some country that I hunt, I chat with the old outfitter from the area who outfitted there in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And he recently retired. And I was telling him on my 2020 hunt, I hunted that country hard for 5 days, like real hard, like up before the sunrise and glassed hard, hit every basin and putting on, 20-kilometer days every day, right? Just checking it, leaving no stone unturned. And I didn't see a legal buck till the last hour of the last day. And that was the deer that I killed. And he was telling me that in that same country for the last 50 years, you would see, between 40 and 100 4-point mule deer in those hills every morning, before lunch, right? They would ride into that country on horseback. And, it was really good guiding country because Americans would come up and they'd smack a mule deer and they get their outfitting fee and away they go. Right. Mm-hmm. But I think those days are gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yeah, if you got no age structure left, it's kind of hard to get it. Right. And so,
it's one of those things, if I don't know, man. I think you need opportunity and we need the casual truck hunter. Like we need the guys that don't listen to this podcast and aren't interested in backcountry hunting or archery or whatever. We need the guy that's just going to take his core course and go buy a rifle and go cruise around his truck. Like we need that hunter in BC. Like we really need that hunter, Yeah. But at the same time, we also need the mule deer herd to be strong, right? So there's a compromise, I think, to be made.
Yeah.
Like we don't need to be giving out doe tags. I don't think.
Do they give out rifle doe tags?
Yep.
Like a lot?
I mean, I did some quick math on that podcast for Jeff, and I think there's one management region. So like an entire region. So I think region 3, they hand out more than, I think it's 800 plus doe rifle tags.
Wow.
Yeah. I know a lot of guys that put in for muley draws and just don't they just shred the tag,
Yeah. Just save a doe.
Yeah. Captain Save a Doe.
Huh.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, no, it was good. It was all right. I would, I'd like to put in, next time I'd like to put in 8-10 days or till you kill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll probably approach that hunt a lot different because we had intentions of hunting our tree spot and we didn't actually end up making it there. Our plan kind of got derailed sort of from the jump with all of my family stuff. And then when we got there, we couldn't get to where we wanted to go, yada, yada, yada. But I think next year what we'll do is we'll plan on a rifle hunt and you and I will be hunting the same zone this time, which will be much more effective, I think.
Yeah.
Are we doing goats next year again? You want to do goats again? I thought you wanted to do boo.
Yeah, definitely. No, I want to do caribou if a guy can, but
yep.
Tanner had a successful caribou trip.
I was just going to say, we may have to talk to Tanner. It looks like a good bull.
I'd like to go with Tanner too. I think he'd be a good guy to hunt with.
He'd just be fun to hang out with, man. He's such a nice dude.
Yeah, he's good. He's like, yeah, man, you can't fucking be downtown. He's like, I live here. I don't go downtown.
He looks like a tough bastard too, eh?
Tanner, he's a big dude, man. Like, he's bigger than I thought. Like, he's just tall, right? Like,
is he?
Yeah, he looks torquey, man.
Oh no, am I going to look like his retarded little brother?
You'd look like definitely be his bitch in prison, right? For sure.
Yeah, I don't think I'll do time though, so we're good.
No, he's just a big guy. Like, he's like me, right?
Yeah, that's cool.
Big dude.
It's good. He can help carry me up mountains. Piggyback me through blueberry bushes. There we go. Cool. We done it. You're back. Wacey's back in the saddle, folks.
I'm back.
He's back from Giardia Mountain.
Can you add songs to this? Put like Slim Shady, Guess Who's Back?
When? Right at the beginning?
Well, I don't know.
I don't think so. I think there's like a copyright issue there. I think we'll get in trouble if I do that. Yeah. So. Well, it is what it is.
Should we put a pin in it or what?
Yeah, let's pull the plug here. Glad you're back. Glad you're not pooping anymore. I had fun on our hunt. Yeah, I still might try to convince you to hang out with me in Southern Alberta for a day if I can sneak away, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm hitting end.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and leave us a review. If you want to support the podcast, please check out the gear on our website at wildernesslocals.net.